Hello and welcome, Professor Rasmussen, Chapter 4, a continuation of attention. Now we are going to number 2 of theory of attention. In this talk, I'm going to describe the late selection theory of attention. We've already talked about the early selection in respect to Broadbent's and Treisman's model, where attention, or rather the information is processed and filtered prior to much of the unattended message being analyzed. Well, this one, the late selection, is saying that no, everything is analyzed. Okay, all that information that is coming into your head is being analyzed and being, decoded in some way. It's just you're not aware of that. Okay, so the filtering happens now after your brain is parsing through and accepting this information and analyzing these words, the unattended message, as well as the attended message, for the physical properties of the words in the sentences, as well as the meaning of the words. Okay? So that's what we're going to talk about here. This is a late selection theory. In a future talk, that's when I'm going to talk about the perceptual load theory. But let's talk about the late selection theory. So, main problem with the early selection, that's Broadbent's and the Treisman's model, is that maybe information is attended, or rather in the unattended ear, is actually processed. Now, we had some hints at that, right? So the unattended message is processed to some level. When you hear your name being said, you can attend to your name. When an individual hears "Dear Aunt Jane," and "aunt" switches to the unattended ear, you can pay attention to that and you can detect that. So maybe this information, a lot of it is being actually processed in the, all this information in the unattended message is being processed. So how did researchers do this? Well, they used ambiguous sentences, and in the unattended ear, there will be words. They gave words that would relate to the ambiguous sentence, okay, to those ambiguous sentences prior. So let's take a look and see what these researchers did. So this is kind of cool stuff. So dichotic listening task in the attended stream, the ambiguous sentence was, they were throwing stones at the bank. So what does that mean to you? They were throwing stones at the bank. Well, this could mean they were chucking stones at the financial institution, all right, at some sort of First National Bank or Fifth Third Bank, whatever, or these people were throwing stones at the bank, the river bank, right? It's possible that it could be two of these, it could be either of these. So what's interesting now is in the unattended stream, no pun intended for a river, but in the unattended message, there was a biasing word. Sometimes the participants were either given such words as river, sometimes they were given words such as money. So the river would allude to the bank as potentially, being the river bank, whereas the money, that would be in the bank that you store your money into. Now, they're almost like they're priming these participants with some information here. River, money. This might lead them to infer the bank means one thing when they're given river bank, and when they're given the word money, it means the financial institution. So what did the researchers find? Well, they assessed their recall of the sentence, and yes, when the word money was given in the unattended ear, the ambiguous sentence was more likely interpreted as a financial institution. And vice versa, when the word river was given in the unintended ear, the sentence was oftentimes misremembered more so and inferred to mean a river bank. All right, so it's kind of interesting research that these researchers put together here to see what is actually processed in the unintended stream, in the unattended message. Now, the attenuator model, that would predict that none of these, river nor money, should be able to be detected. Why would the attenuator model predict that river and money are not being, processed or analyzed? The reason why, if you answer this, is because they probably have a massive threshold. River and money probably have a very high threshold. You can process, and you can, your threshold is low. And you can analyze your name. You might even be able to analyze the word gun. If someone says gun on a plane, if you're kind of like snoozing off and someone says gun or bomb, holy crap, right? You're getting your ass up. But if someone says river and money, dude, that's a really high threshold. I mean, unless you're going to find some money. But, river, probably pretty high, right? So, Again, no pun intended. So essentially, what this is saying is that in this experiment, they found that even though these words probably have a pretty high threshold, they were still being processed and analyzed, suggesting that this filtering happens later on. So the unattended stream was being processed, and it wasn't low threshold words, okay? It wasn't these low threshold words, just like I said, it wasn't like the name or a gun or a bomb or kidnapping, something like that. A word that is very, very low threshold. It was high threshold words. So therefore, it's probably not early selection, nor an attenuator. Okay, an attenuator goes with this early selection. The word was actually being processed to this semantic level. Semantic means word meaning, prior to it being filtered out. That's what this research is suggesting. So therefore, this is a model that has been proposed, the late selection theory, the late selection explanation of attention. So the input information coming in to both ears, whatever, just information coming in, it goes through a detector, it goes through a recognition, the meaning, okay? Now it's going on to the filter. This is based on the meaning, okay? So the filter is based on what is is kind of relevant. So filtering occurs later in the stream of processing, and then that goes on to like your complete awareness and especially your memory. Okay, so kind of interesting. What's really happening here? Well, filtering may happen a little bit later on. It may actually go through some sort of area where meaning is being analyzed. Okay, so what do we have right now? Well, we have evidence for broadbent. We can totally ignore an unintended stream. We can do this oftentimes, unless it's our own name, okay? As posed by the attenuation model. Then it captures our attention. Or sometimes it doesn't. But we might even be able to capture more than just our name, okay? As shown with these these high threshold words that were essentially being processed. So maybe we can process the unattended stream. Okay, kind of interesting. So this is the early selection, broadbent and attenuation versus the late selection, late selection model. Okay, so this is going to bring us to the next talk where I'm going to take off on the next presentation, and this is going to be the theory of attention in respect to how does your capacity, your mental capacity, your cognitive capacity influence your ability to attend to different information. Woo! All right, I'm getting this done. You guys are getting this done. I hope you're learning something. Thanks for tuning in, and I will talk to you. You will listen to me. You won't see me next time.